Bastards! Today we're going to make. This is the start of a new series, and it is on how to start prepping, how to graduate to the next level. So I will make several series in from starting from for starting preppers to more advanced to what you need, what you should do, what are the steps you should take, what are the things you need to watch out for, what errors will you probably make, and yeah, the, that's a wide spectrum in the prepping that you will have to achieve at some point if you want to advance. And eventually it doesn't really matter in how much you want to advance because prepping is just for your whole life. So depending on your situation, location, your personal life, your abilities, those things will either get you into certain directions of prepping, or they will inhibit you from other path that you want to take, that you want to make. So we're going to start from the ground till so how you can build up your preps. And it is very interesting for people who want to become a prepper, because many people they make the same error by wanting too much too quick at the same time. It's a graduate process, and that way you can keep building up your preps and your skills. So that's very important. So with this series we're going to do in certain levels. All right. So if you do not want to get overwhelmed, you have to start at the bottom. And it is level, I shall call this level 1. And what is that level 1? Most people will think, most preppers actually begin with the bug out bag. But in my opinion, that's not the thing that you have to start with. Because if you start with the bug out bag, you will probably will not have the knowledge of certain aspects of it, make errors, and certain things you will have to throw away, some things you will break because you're misusing it. So, in my opinion, the first thing that that if you want to become a prepper, that is actually acceptance is perhaps the good word. It's the survival mentality. It's the realization and the acceptance that things can go wrong. Even if you live in a nice neighborhood or the biggest shithole in the world, one part or the other, they will accept it quicker. But the first thing you have to do as a prepper is acknowledge that bad things could happen. If you have that, then you can go to the next step. Because a lot of people, that's the thing how most people will become preppers. People, they see something that scares them. They see something happening to Johnny on the other side of the street who was run over by a car, who had some financial problems, or they watch the news and they saw a natural disaster or footage of war, or they read the newspapers, and that's mostly starting fear. A lot of preppers, to be honest, including myself, I started when I was young. I was playing a game called Stalker, and it was about Chernobyl. I started to learn more about it, and I discovered how bad things could happen. That we had nuclear reactors in Belgium close by, actually, and yeah, that kind of scared me at the start. But fear comes out of not knowing, and that's where the next thing comes after the acceptance, and that is knowledge. So, level 1 is, like I said, knowledge. Just start to look up. I would advise to start up with small, easily digestive survival books, manuals. To be honest, you can look it up on the internet, but the problem is on the internet there is so much bullshit going on. There is so much there is too much information. You don't know where to start, or what is reliable, or what you can trust without hurting yourself when you try it out. So I would advise to follow preppers who have experience. If it's people in your neighborhood who are more into that, perhaps somebody with some military who was in the military and who has experience with it, you can ask some survival tips from them. from people who have actually gotten into, people who go camping or hiking regularly, ask information about them, and of course, so people who are experts in the field, and not just experts who just wrote a book because they want to make money. I'm talking about real people. Of course, the SA survival manual, I would advise to start with this. This contains a lot of survival techniques, tips, and information from John Lofty Weissman, who was in the SAS, and I read the whole book several times, and the techniques I can acknowledge that they are working, a lot of them, and it's not only about finding water, filtering water, building shelters, hunting for food and wild edibles. It's also about more urban disasters, like natural disasters in your area, things that happen in urban areas, like terrorism, robberies, and self-defense and such. So this is a very interesting book to start with. If you have read this book, I would say you can go to the next level, because knowledge is power, and this book will definitely be a great help for it. There are other books about survival, like the SAS and Elite Forces Guide, yet another from Chris McNab. This is also very interesting. This goes more into possibilities than real techniques. There are techniques in it, but in contrary to the SAS survival guides, which is almost only about techniques and tips and information, this book is more helpful for brightening your ideas. So that will help you create more an open mind towards the things that could happen. So I would really advise to get to this one. And this is also a favorite of mine, and that is Creek Stewart. He's a real prepper, to say. He wrote several books about several topics, and he tested them all out, which he showed in a book. So you can learn a lot from this. This specific book is about bug-out bags. If you can see, it says a lot of pictures from real experiences. So there is not just some guy who just typed some information that he found on 10 different websites. So this guy knows what he's talking about, and that's something you can start with. And with knowledge comes also the skills, and what should you do as further getting some knowledge. I would advise to follow some courses like first aid. It's very important that you need to know how to admit first aid to yourself and to other people in case of survivalist, and that way you can also directly train the techniques itself. It's not just something you read in a book and oh right, it's something like that, because in a moment of stress you will forget it. So that way, follow a course, first aid, follow courses, self-defense. In my personal opinion, I would advise Krav Maga, which is a self-defense system that is easily to learn, is most efficient in most realistic situations for persons. If it doesn't matter if you're a child, a woman, somebody who is a little bit older or who has some disadvantages. This Krav Maga is ideal for all people to get some simple self-defense techniques that you can learn easily. So it's not like you have to learn get 3 belts in karate before you can do this. No, this is a very good thing. For the rest, I would advise to not to get more knowledge about certain topics. I would advise to, if you want to repair something, how to build constructions, electricity, car manuals, more advanced first aid. Like a good source is actually the US Army manuals. These are manuals that the US Army brings out, and they contain a lot of information, techniques, and very precise numbers on certain topics that are being tested in the military these days even. So that's a very good way to get information that is tested, that is applicable, and yeah, that probably can be used with the things that are in your area. So that is level 1 of prepping knowledge. If you get the knowledge, we can go to level 2, and yeah, I will now end this video, because I will to make it more, or how do you say it, easy to progress. I will do for each level I will do a video, so it also makes it shorter, so it's handier for people to read or to listen to. Subscribe, I would really appreciate it. If you enjoy this, let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching, and see you in the next video about level 2. Level 2 will be about EDC bags.